I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Right.
Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
Anyone claiming that America's economy is in decline is peddling fiction.
I've abandoned free market principles to save the free market system.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Raising the debt ceilings does not increase our debt. It does not somehow promote profligacy.
I know words. I have the best words. Nobody knows the system better than me, which is why I alone can fix it.
What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome back to the Peddling Fiction Podcast. I am your host, of course, the voice and soul of so-called fiction, Johnny Profita. And back with me to kick off this weekend right is the one and only Justin Hillbilly Boyd Campbell. How you doing over there? Feeling better?
Good. It's cold as shit, but it stopped snowing, so the kids went back to school today, and that means I'm going to be spending most of the afternoon catching up on 2 days worth of stuff that we weren't able to do because we were snowed in. So that's a lot of fun.
I used to love snow days as a kid. I love those fucking snow days.
They don't get real snow days, though. They have e-learning days. So basically they have to be on like Google Meet calls and have like call into their classroom, and their teacher will go through their assignments, and then they get stuff emailed to them, and then they have X number of days to email the completed assignments back and everything. It's like, man, all this sounds like a lot of bullshit.
Yeah,
it was like when we had the days off of school, you were just out of school, and if it happened to snow so much that you were out of school for like a week or something, then that means it cut into your summer vacation. Like we would talk about, gosh, at this rate we're going to be in school till June, and like now they don't have to do any of that shit. They just get to sit at home and dick around on their Chromebook and still get credit for having gone to school and not have to worry about their summer break getting cut short.
That's one thing. These kids today, they have a lot of they've been spoiled quite a bit, but the fact that they don't get to enjoy a fucking snow day, like if it was like a fucking Thursday or something and you get 2 snow days back to back, 4-day fucking weekend, don't have to take the test on Friday or whatever, you get till Monday to turn in your report. There was like nothing better, absolutely nothing better. And you just play fucking GoldenEye or some shit for like 2 straight days.
Well, now they'll cancel school for anything and just call it an e-learning day. So nobody has to show up to the school, but the teachers, they're still doing class, and they're still technically having school. The school is basically getting paid for having students come to school without having students come to school. Like these e-learning days are a bullshit way of like gaming the system where they don't have to serve meals. They don't have to turn the lights on. They don't have to fucking do anything, but they still get credit for like, it's all a big fucking game. But like, that's what's nuts about it is now they'll call school because it's cold. They're like, oh yeah, it's cold. We don't want the kids standing out at the bus stop in the cold. It's like, the fuck do you mean? Like when I was a kid, my parents would drive up to the end of the driveway, kick us the fuck out of the car, and then drive back home and be like, good luck. Hope the bus gets here before you freeze to death. Like these kids are so fucking spoiled.
They certainly are. And they'll probably still get a participation trophy somehow. But
I mean, isn't that what a high school diploma is these days anyway? It's just a participation trophy. When you consider illiteracy rates in this country and how but when you consider illiteracy rates when looked at alongside graduation rates, it's pretty much a high school diploma is just a participation trophy.
Yeah, that is a very good point. a very good point. It has about as much value as a participation trophy does too. And pretty soon your college degree will have the exact same value, if any, of a participation trophy, because they're basically giving those out now too. As long as you can stomach going into up to your eyeballs into debt, they'll give you a fucking diploma from a college too.
Well, and that's one of those things that I don't know if we talked about it, but there was actually some research and stuff done on it within the last 2 or 3 years, where there are a lot of entry-level jobs that previously would require a college degree that now they would prefer not, because the college degree has become so useless. It's like what you're actually getting for some of these jobs with somebody who has a college degree is a educated retard that actually has no functional use or knowledge. And now they're coming into the workforce thinking that they know everything when they know less than somebody who's actually been in the workforce for the last 4 years. So now the college degree in a number of different industries is actually kind of becoming like a scarlet letter type of a thing. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to stay away from that one, which is like incredible. I mean, just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, if I was looking at a resume and I saw that you went to like a 4-year college, like a run-of-the-mill college that just about anybody can get into, and you just got like a random liberal arts degree or something, that would do more damage to you than it would benefit. Like, I would just be like, all right, this person like can't think for themselves. We'll just go with the herd, has probably been fucking propagandized for at least an extra 4 years. And just like makes really bad decisions. Like, what was the plan here?
Well, that's like the job that I have. They require a degree, and it's crazy because it's not like you don't have to have a specific degree. You just have to have a degree. So like one of the other supervisors has a German degree. Like he went to school for German. His degree is in German. Like, why? Like the German language. That's it. That's what his degree is in. I'm like, how do you even fucking get a degree in German, for one? What are you like? Why? What were you planning to do with that? One of the other guys has another equally like stupid, useless degree. Like and the hourly employees like make fun of them. They're like, "Oh, what's your degree in?" I was like, "I actually got a legitimate degree and worked for a decade in the field that I like went for. I don't know what the fuck these guys did with their like college experience, but like I actually went for something that was practical and useful at least at the time. And I mean, it still could be, but
yeah, the only thing you can do with a German degree is teach German, I guess, to somebody else that wants to get the worth. That's just like the Ponzi scheme of degrees. It's like an English degree. If you want to learn German, just fucking take an online class, pay some fucking guy in German to talk with you every day for a couple of weeks, go to Germany. I don't know. All of it a lot cheaper than whatever the fuck you were doing.
My wife's brother went to college to be a librarian. But the problem is, like, to get a job as a librarian at any library, you have to have a master's, except that they only like even like the good university jobs pay like $50,000 a year, and that's it. So you had to get a fucking master's to make $40,000-$50,000 a year. Like, that's fucking insane. Like,
what does a librarian even do? You just put the books back in the Dewey Decimal System?
I mean, from talking to him, it seems like most of what he does is run homeless people out of the bathroom. So
that checks out. I haven't been to a fucking library in over 25 years. Like, maybe not over 25. I probably went to the library to fucking study. I guess, yeah, in college, I went to like the library to fucking get work done. But I don't remember anybody being an actual librarian. I just considered them like, oh, you just work at the library.
We have one that is a really cool old historic building, and they do like tours around Halloween because there's like it's haunted. And there are people that say that they've seen ghosts in the library. But anyway, they do tours around Halloween and they do other like cool events and stuff. And it's a really neat library. There's another one in town that is a more modern, fixed up library, and they have a really good selection of books. Like anything that you're looking for, they have it, and it's easy to find. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, and that's just because I've got kids that the libraries have events that the kids have been interested in over the years. And so we've, if I didn't have kids, I would have never stepped foot in a library probably since college. Yeah.
Yeah. There's just, again, and the whole point of college, I thought, was like to get access to their libraries, like, oh, that university, Harvard, they have like all the best books and everything. And now it's just, everything's just online. So what are we even doing?
Right.
Oh man.
You can look it up on Wikipedia, and then Wikipedia will link you to the Harvard library where you can just print everything out.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, and for the left to complain about teachers not making enough money. Could you imagine if you were like a good professor from one of these universities and you just started your own online class? Like how many more students you would get access to? Like, who cares if they actually qualified to get into Harvard? If they're going to pay you whatever it is to get into your fucking class, you just get all these monthly subscriptions, and then you just bang out some fucking couple classes a week, and then you can just keep replaying those. You don't even have to it's just videos. You could just sell the fucking class. Like, you could make millions. It would be like fucking shooting fish in a barrel for a competent teacher to do that.
Well, that's one of those things that happened during COVID when the schools were getting shut down and stuff. And then after the schools were getting shut down, when they started reopening, they were having the mask mandate requirements and the vaccine requirements and everything else, just for like elementary school kids to come back to school. And you had teachers that were refusing to come back to work and all kinds of other crazy bullshit. There were a bunch of instances where you had really good teachers in communities that just quit working for the school and started holding their own classes, started doing homeschool type things, but on a larger scale in these like cities and counties, where it's like, okay, I'll take 20, 30 students, and like, you'll pay me $100 a week and we'll do class. And so like parents were like, yeah, instead of sending our kids to these schools where they're having all these insane requirements and we don't know what teachers are coming back and like what they're going to be doing with all of this stuff, like we can just have a legitimate good teacher teach our kids everything they need. And that became really popular there for a while. I think it has died off a little bit since the world has to some extent gotten back to normal, but it also created kind of a resurgence or a renaissance of homeschooling, where a lot of people pulled out of the public school system because they didn't want to have to deal with all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, just those numbers that you threw out there, which seem pretty fucking 30 kids, $100 a week. First, that's $3,000 a week that the teacher's pulling in. That's what, like 12 grand a month. How many teachers are making that?
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, and then for the fucking parent, that's $5,000 a year for that, and then you wouldn't have to you wouldn't be taking a bunch of classes that you don't want your kid to be taking, like a bunch of stupid shit. Or like I had no aptitude for like advanced maths. Like there was no reason for me to be taking like calculus and stuff like that. It was a complete waste of time. Like once I got past like, multiplication, addition, subtraction, first of all, you don't really need, like, if you're not good at it, you're not going to need, like, I've made it 40 years without having to use calculus in my day to day. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, you could.
Johnny's in finance and is bad at math. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah. I do fucking investments for a living. I'm doing pretty well at it. And yeah, no calculus. Like, I don't need to know, like, I have a Fibonacci tool that I use. I know the basic like Fibonacci sequence. I know how it works and everything, but like I'm sure there's like people out there that could talk to you about Fibonacci numbers and how they're seen in everything for the next like 3.5 hours. But I just have this little tool. I click on it. I can set which numbers I want. I draw on my fucking chart. and I use it that way. It's like, I don't need to know how any of this shit works. Like, I know I can do the addition, I can do the subtraction, I can do the, you know, the division and the multiplication. And that, to me, that's plenty. And you can, if you're not going to be like launching rockets into space or something, I don't know why you need to take all these extra math classes and things. You could save a bunch of time and money and focus on things that, you know, that play to your strengths, that move the needle. We could clean up. If we just got rid of the Department of Education, that'd be a great start. And then I think people would start to realize how much damage that has done to the fucking kids. And they'd be a lot more receptive, like you were saying, after they see what these kids are learning and, oh, we can do this stuff online. These fucking, you know, these light bulbs go off and blue-pilled people's heads. And we could make some drastic changes for the better. But man, they are going to fight you tooth and nail.
Speaking of shooting rockets into space, that actually is a nice little segue into our unelected oligarch, Elon Musk. There has been a lot of questions asked about Elon Musk, and Deputy Chief of Staff, Trump's Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, was recently asked about it at the White House, and he just completely destroyed the poor journalist that asked the question.
It is true that many of the people in this room for 4 years failed to cover the fact that Joe Biden was mentally incompetent and was not running the country. It is also true that many people in this room who have used this talking point that Elon is not elected fail to understand how government works. So I'm glad for the opportunity for a brief civics lesson. A president is elected by the whole American people. He's the only official in the entire government that is elected by the entire nation, right? Judges are appointed, members of Congress are elected at the district or state level, which is one man. And the Constitution, Article 2, has a clause known as the vesting clause, and it says the executive power shall be vested in a president, singular. The whole will of democracy is imbued into the elected president. That president then appoints staff to then impose that democratic will onto the government. The threat to democracy, indeed the existential threat to democracy, is the unelected bureaucracy of lifetime tenure civil servants who believe they answer to no one, who believe they can do whatever they want without consequence, who believe they can set their own agenda no matter what Americans vote for. So Americans vote for radical FBI reform, and FBI agents say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote for radical reform on our energy policies, but EPA bureaucrats say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote to end DEI, racist DEI policies, and lawyers in the Department of Justice say they don't want to change. What President Trump is doing is he is removing federal bureaucrats who are defying democracy by failing to implement his lawful orders, which are the will of the whole American people.
That, yeah, pretty right on the money there. Succinct, clear to understand.
I don't think there were any follow-up questions.
No? Yeah, what can you really follow it up with? You just fucking pack your stupid fucking notebook and go home because you don't know how to be a fucking, like, dude, the last month of just watching journalists try to do journalism has been absolutely hilarious, man.
Well, and that's the problem, is they don't do journalism anymore. What they do is they write opinion pieces and pretend that that's fact. And that's the thing. I actually talked about it on my show the other day. There were people that were all in a tizzy because the Washington Post declined to run a front and back page, like full, what do they call it? A wrap. So it's the front and back cover, like whole full paper ad of an anti-Elon Musk thing. And the Washington Post, like Jeff Bezos, back after the election said, we're not going to engage in this kind of stuff anymore. We are going to do real journalism. We're going to actually report the news. We're going to stop being biased trash. And the leftists got all up in a tizzy because the Washington Post declined to run this front and back cover full paper ad bashing Elon Musk. It's like, we're not engaging in this kind of stuff anymore. Sorry, fuck off.
Yeah, dude, I think it was, it was one of the more recent episodes of Part of the Problem. They played a clip, it might have been MSNBC or something, where the MSNBC journalist or whatever was telling you what they thought journalism was and what their job was to tell you that, like, basically every cut to government is a bad thing. And so instead of like actually reporting on what Doge has been doing, which I have a couple more thoughts. We'll get into some of that later in the show, but it's just like, instead of just reporting like, hey, this is what they're doing, and like, these are the numbers here, and this is what's been going on, and letting you draw your conclusion based on the facts, they consider it their job to tell you that this is what they're doing, and this is a bad thing, and here's what a good thing is. And of course, all the good things are growing government, and all the bad things are cutting government. It was a pretty wild clip to hear, but you can go. I mean, they go through it on that podcast. There's no reason for us to rehash it here, but yeah, it gives you a glimpse into the way their fucking mind works and what they think their job is. It's completely backwards. Yeah. What else do we have on the fucking agenda today? Sorry, my brain is fried. By Friday, yeah.
Are you in a trade right now, Johnny?
Nope, but I'm keeping an eye on it. I almost took one. I'm glad I didn't.
Well, talking about Elon Musk and Doge and everything that they're doing, or may potentially be doing, there are reports that it's possible they could be sending out some checks. Trump and Musk to discuss sending U.S. taxpayers $5,000 checks using Doge savings. Billionaire Elon Musk said on February 18th that he will discuss with President Donald Trump a proposal to send U.S. taxpayers rebate checks representing a portion of the money saved by the Department of Government Efficiency. Musk is spearheading the Trump administration's efforts to reshape the federal government and reduce wasteful spending. The Doge leader took to his social media platform X to say he would check with Trump regarding the possibility of introducing a Doge dividend. I don't think 5,000 has actually been a necessarily official number, but it's kind of gotten floated around and become currently the popular talking point. So
yeah. So what's the official? How much did he claim that the Doge has saved? By the way,
I don't know how much they claim that they have so far. The goal was to save $2 trillion by the 4th of July of 2026. Was to cut $2 trillion worth of wasteful government spending.
Yeah. So I was looking at the national debt clock the other day. They have a Doge clock on there. They've added a thing to that national debt, like usdebtclock.org or whatever it is, and it's at 121 billion almost in savings now. Of course, that's of the 7,198,000,000,000 that the government's spending. So it's like, yeah, it's still like a drop in a bucket. Like it's like 1% or something, and they're freaking out over this. But dude, this idea of a Doge dividend is fucking brilliant. I'm sorry, because anybody who was not on board with the Doge thing will get on board for $5,000 in their pocket. Even if economically it's a retarded thing to do because the government doesn't have this money, and they're just gonna, a couple strokes on the keyboard and give people $5,000 to spend is absolutely, utterly inflationary. And I'm, at this point, I'm just like, yep, give me the $5,000. What else? I saw a poll on Twitter, and it was like, should we give everybody $5,000 or should we put it toward the national debt? And I was like, give people $5,000. At the time, it was 60-40 in favor of paying down the national debt. To me, that's just like, you might as well just fucking burn the money.
Right.
The national debt is completely out of control. What they're gonna raise the debt ceiling here in like another month or something, so that the government can stay open.
Oh, Johnny, haven't you heard? The Democrats are actually pushing to shut the government down so that they can stop Elon and Donald Trump from shutting the government down. Wait.
Yeah, I remember that retarded logic. That was great. I'm on board with it. For once, I agree with the Democrats. It's just
we're gonna shut the government down so we can stop Donald Trump and Elon Musk from shutting the government down.
Yeah, it's like you got to amputate the leg to save the body or something. But I mean, dude, to take whatever $50 billion or whatever they're going to do for the $5,000 checks and put it toward the 36, almost $37 trillion, it's going to evaporate by the end of the day. Like that money's just going to be fucking gone. It reminded me of that. Reminded me of that scene in Rounders, great movie with John Turturro and Matt Damon. And Matt Damon is like, he needs like fucking 20 grand or something by the end, like by tomorrow. And so he goes to Turturro and he asks him for some money. And he's like, who are you into for? And he's like, into the fucking, basically the Russian mob or whatever. And Turturro's like, if I give you like $5 grand, what's that going to do for you? If I give it to you, I'm just wasting it. I got a wife, kids, I owe alimony. What if I give you $5 grand now, you're still going to need a fucking miracle to pay these guys off by tomorrow. So what would be the fucking point? It just reminded me of that. What would be the point of taking 50 or even 100 billion and putting it toward the 37 trillion if they're going to raise the debt ceiling anyway in like a couple of weeks and that thing's just going to go through the fucking roof? If they were like, we're not raising the debt ceiling anymore, like Donald Trump put his fucking foot down and he's like, okay, I'm serious about this. We're never raising the debt ceiling. Then I'd be like, okay, put it toward that. Until that's on the fucking table, give me the $5 grand. I will invest it and I will fucking beat out the fucking inflation rate. Like that's the way I feel about it. I'll take the fucking $5 grand, please. It was mine after all. It's just returning money to the people that you fucking stole it from. I don't care if it's going to cause more inflation.
It's like 50 billion to a $37 trillion national debt is like shooting a BB gun at a tank. Like,
right.
We're accomplishing nothing. Like people don't. It's amazing. Once you get above like six figures, people really just blank out and don't understand the unbelievable difference between a million, a billion, and a trillion. Like that, they think it's just like, oh, you just like take, it's just a couple more zeros. Yeah, but there's a whole lot of other numbers before you add those couple more zeros to get to these, like take these big steps.
Yeah. I mean, the numbers are pretty fucking ridiculous. I mean, nobody can really comprehend the size of these things once you get over $1 trillion. And we're just 36 times that. You do have to just like lop off a couple zeros and like do the thing. It's like 36,000 and here's like $50. Like, okay. Yeah, thanks. That's going to help.
Right. That's like people really don't understand numbers, which again, further proof that we should do away with the Department of Education. But if we can't do away with the Department of Education, we could at least start with the IRS maybe. Trump's goal is to abolish the IRS as layoffs loom.
Yeah. Again, dude, he would go down as the greatest president in history if he abolishes the IRS. Could you fucking imagine? That would be so fucking cool. I gotta say, I never thought that this fucking Doge thing was going to amount to anything. Like I didn't even think they were going to actually be like a government, have any sort of power within the government. I thought it was just going to be like an outside committee that would make recommendations. But they actually have like some fucking clout. It's pretty incredible to watch this. And if they can eliminate the goddamn IRS, dude, that's like the most incredible goddamn thing.
So effectively, the way that Trump put Doge into existence through his executive orders and everything was he more or less gave Doge executive authority through the executive order. So they have the authority to come in and act as basically an extension of the president to do the things that he has set forth in his plans for them to do. So yeah, it's and that's another thing that makes a lot of these legal challenges that the left are trying to pull on this stuff really entertaining, is the way they're trying, the things that they are choosing to try to challenge and the way that they're going about it is interesting, because a lot of this stuff is there were like literally months and teams of lawyers that worked on putting together these executive orders so that they would be really hard to fight in court. Some of them, not so much. Some of them were intended to just be like slap in the face, haha, fuck you, make the liberals mad type of stuff. But others of this stuff was designed and structured where they were really going to have a legal fight on their hands. And oddly enough, it's the stuff that they probably have the least opportunity to win against, that they're trying to push back against. It's hilarious.
It's like Donald Trump's superpower is to get this reaction from fucking people. Like it really is fucking amazing. And I mean, Donald Trump, I'm sure, hates fucking paying taxes because he pays a ton of them. I mean, imagine, dude, oh man, if you had the fucking power to abolish the IRS, it would just be the greatest thing ever. And he just replace it with tariffs. We go back to the way we were in like 1900. Unbelievable, dude. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the odds of that happening are like the slimmest ever. But could you imagine the absolute freak out of the government not having their fucking IRS, dude? But we don't even need, like, what's the point, man? They're going to, like, Donald, they just print the money anyway. They don't fucking spend, like, what they take in taxes has no bearing on what they're going to spend. So why even go through this charade? You know, just get rid of the IRS. We'll at least save that money and save the American people the fucking headache. The taxes will just be the inflation. That'll be the way you pay taxes.
Here's Howard Lutnick, Trump's Secretary of Commerce, talking about the plan for the External Revenue Service and doing away with the Internal Revenue Service.
Well, think about it. Donald Trump announces the External Revenue Service, and his goal is very simple. His goal is to abolish the Internal Revenue Service and let all the outsiders pay. I mean, this is someone who is focused on America. Let's drive down our waste, fraud, and abuse. I'll give you an example. Cruise ships. You ever see a cruise ship with an American flag on the back? They have flags of like Liberia or Panama. None of them pay taxes. None of them pay taxes. Every super tanker, none pays taxes. Alcohol, all foreign alcohol, no taxes. This is going to end under Donald Trump, and those taxes are going to be paid, and Americans' tax rates are going to come down. That's what Donald Trump wants to do. Balance our budget and cut our taxes. I mean, imagine a Democratic senator going against that. What planet are these people on?
Well, the alcohol thing is really interesting. So until it gets shipped out, it's still in bond and taxes are not paid on it. So there is a loophole that some companies will use where what they'll do is they will send stuff for export. So they'll produce stuff, they'll put it in shipping containers and send it overseas. And then when it gets overseas, it'll get relabeled, sent back, and then it's tax exempt. So you can just pump out millions of dollars worth of alcohol. And as long as you are shipping it over and then bringing it back, and it's never actually going to a store, you can avoid paying taxes on it. Incredible how these loopholes work, isn't it?
Yeah. There's always going to be a fucking loophole. And then you just have to think about like what a colossal waste of time and resources it is to spend all of this energy trying to get to the loophole. I mean, it makes sense if you're the one paying the taxes, but imagine if we didn't have to do that. You free up a lot of time and resource. You don't have to do the back and forth thing. It's just, the taxes are complete and utter, like they're the worst fucking thing about our society. Like one of the worst things.
Well, the fact that it's actually cheaper for a company to send shit somewhere else and then bring it back instead of paying the taxes on it here is kind of insane.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And dude, I mean, like, just think, you always get less of what you tax and more of what you subsidize. So like, why are we fucking punishing productive behavior? You know, if we could switch to some sort of consumption tax, at least then we're punishing consumption and you can avoid it. And the rich will pay more because they consume more. So the rich will pay their fair share, which is exactly what the left goes on and on and on and on about. What's the problem here? You know,
that makes sense, Johnny. You know they don't like it when shit makes sense.
Of course not. Yeah. Oh man, abolishing the IRS. That would just be, if Donald Trump does that, greatest president in history. Not even close. Better than George Washington. Oh shit! Has his own dance. Abolish the IRS. Survived 2 assassination attempts. What can't this guy do? But yeah, I don't know. That's like I said, there's just unfortunately no chance of that happening. But if there is one guy that could do it, it's Teflon Don.
Hey, I mean, we say there's no chance of it happening, but we also didn't think that there was a whole lot of chance of Tulsi Gabbard being named to, or being confirmed. There were a lot of people that didn't think Kash Patel was going to get confirmed, and yet here we are today with his confirmation. Kash Patel is now officially the first ever black FBI director, just like Kamala Harris was the first ever black vice president. That's how that works, right?
Yeah, I'm sure they're very excited about the diversity that just got confirmed. That's the story, right? They're excited about this. The press is going on and on about how great this is, that we have a person of color. Is he the first? Is he the first? Like any person of color to head the FBI? I don't know.
Probably, I don't know. That seems like one of those positions they keep pretty close to the chest.
Yeah, but again, dude, just absolutely crazy that the person in charge of the FBI wants to abolish the FBI. Person in charge of fucking the Department of Education wants to abolish the Department of Education. Person in charge of Health and Human Services wants to abolish a lot of the Health and Human Services agenda for sure. It's just the person in charge of national security wants to end the abuses of the national security state. It's
the guy in charge of the Department of Commerce is talking about excitedly talking about Trump ending the IRS.
Yeah, again, yeah, and we don't need it. We can eliminate the Department of Commerce while we're at it. I guarantee you, commerce will still take place without the Department of Commerce. 100% guaranteed.
Which one was it that said, if I do my job right, I won't have a job by the time it's done? Like, I will have eliminated my entire department.
I don't know.
I can't
Sounds like a Ron Paul.
It does sound like a Ron Paul thing. It wasn't him though. It was one of Trump's cabinet nominee or cabinet picks, and now I can't remember who it was, but that was something that they said. They're like, if I do my job right, then I won't have a job by the time it's over with. Like, I will eliminate my own department. Like,
yeah, and that's the mentality we need out of people in Washington, and of course, nobody has that. Which, if they do their job right, they fail miserably and they get more money. Nobody in Washington wants to get rid of anything. That's why they hate these cuts, because, you know, the less money that you're in charge of, like, the less important your department is and the less power you have in Washington and all that shit. It's really perverse incentives. So burn the whole fucking thing down. That's what I say.
And
by not raising the debt ceiling.
I'll say, if you're gonna be burning stuff down and cutting stuff, it helps to have somebody that knows what he's doing on your side when you're getting ready for that.
No!
Hi, my friend!
How you doing?
Good, how's it going? Hey.
I have a question for you.
Thanks.
On the day I was born, the song gather right
Yes. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he's about to turn that kid right next to him. Doge chainsaw. For those of you guys that are just listening, this is Javier Malay
presenting Elon Musk with a Doge chainsaw.
Amazing, dude. I hope he fucking uses it, dude. I hope he really fucking just goes at like it especially just after the last couple of weeks when you're just kind of like, I mean, you're going after some serious stuff, but you are just kind of tinkering around the edges. Like you might as well just in for a penny, in for a pound, go at this fucking thing. Like fuck these guys. You thought USAID was a big deal? Here we go. Now we're coming after the fucking IRS. And then the fucking Pentagon.
Do it all. Burn it all to the ground.
Yeah. Well, they're talking about Donald Trump said they're going to audit the
Fort Knox.
Fort Knox.
Yeah. Oh, where
yeah,
was
I forgot to send you that that article. But I think
got it.
Yeah. When was the last time they verified that we had this gold?
We're going to go into Fort Knox to make sure the gold is there.
Are they going
You know that we're going to go into Fort Knox. Do you know about that? That was a bad bump.
Are they going to eliminate more national security positions, civilians there?
We'll see what happens. But one of the things we do want to look, I mean, we hope everything's fine with Fort Knox, but we're going to go to Fort Knox, the fabled Fort Knox, to make sure the gold is there.
Where would the gold have gone? Brought up.
If the gold isn't there, we're going to be very upset.
Yeah, I think the last time was probably in the 70s. If it wasn't then, it might have even been in the 50s. I can't remember the last time they verified the amount of gold that was in Fort Knox. Of course, it doesn't really matter as much now because the U.S., despite the popular talking points to the contrary, we defaulted on our obligations twice, actually maybe even 3 times. Like if you consider when FDR revalued gold from, I think it went from 20 to 35, and then 35 to like 37, and 37 to 40 or 42 or something like that. Each one of those times is, in my mind, that's like kind of fucking default, an admission that we didn't have enough gold to back all the dollars that were in circulation. But then in 71, we just went completely off the gold standard. So everybody, the kids out there, those, Federal Reserve notes that you have maybe in your wallet, if anybody still carries around cash, you used to be able to turn those in to the Federal Reserve and get gold for it. If you had $42, they would give you an ounce of gold. And if you had $1, I think they'd give you an ounce of silver. That we went off of that in the fucking 70s because we didn't have enough gold to back all of the fucking government projects that they were doing in the 60s. And basically the French started to call our bluff, and they're like, okay, yeah, and instead of, I know we promised to give you guys gold, but we're not going to do that anymore. So that was a complete default. But so now it doesn't even really matter if we have this gold because it's not really backing anything.
There are some conspiracy theories and speculation that it might actually be the other way around, that instead of there not being any gold there might be like way more gold. Like what if, and stick with me here, what if there's actually more gold than reported in Fort Knox in the New York Federal Reserve Vault? And the reason we haven't audited in 50 years is because the U.S. government would have to explain where it got all this gold. This is like a bunker in Iraq back during the Iraq War. There were a number of pictures like this that have floated around the internet for years and years and years. And also, rumors and speculation and stuff of why we were actually in Iraq to begin with. So, wouldn't that be interesting?
That would, yeah. So if we have more, and China actually doesn't have as much gold as they're talking about, or something, that would be interesting. Something tells me it's not going to be that way. I don't know. If I had to guess, the reason nobody's been looking under that fucking rug or whatever is because we don't have the gold. And dude, gold's already, where's gold at? Let's see. $29.42. $2,942 for an ounce of gold. It's basically flat on the day, but those are all-time highs, basically. Could you imagine what that would do? Like if we find out that the 400 billion or something in gold we don't actually have, that would send gold through the fucking roof. Like I said, I think by the end of March, we're going to be at 3,000, maybe even higher. Basically because of all this inflation. But yeah, dude, I just love it's just trolling. It's like, yeah, what else are they fucking lying about? Let's see. Let's just fucking let's just pull the mask off of this thing. It's like, great. Just like one after another, like I'm surprised I haven't seen this meme. I mean, I haven't been looking for a lot of memes lately, but the one where death's just going door to door. How is there not a fucking meme for this yet of going for USAID and then the fucking, I don't know what else they fucking go after. So the IRS, Department of Education, Fort Knox. I don't know how they're not fucking going after any of that. Like nobody's made that meme yet. And then the next door, I don't know what the next one would be, but dude, just absolutely fucking hilarious to watch Trump troll the entire fucking Washington swamp. It's amazing. Somebody else sent me a fucking chart of suicides in DC since like February. They're up like 30% or something. It's one way to drain the swamp. That's one way to drain the swamp.
Well, did we talk about the other one that was like Google searches in and around Washington, D.C. Leading up to and following Trump's inauguration? It was like,
yeah, we did that on the last episode. Yeah, if you were if you were like charged with a murder, and then they went through your phone and they found like let's say you like poisoned your wife or something, and then you Googled like, oh, how to poison, what kind of poison can you use to kill somebody? Like, wouldn't they use that in to convict you in a court? I think they would. I think we should figure out who was doing those searches.
You would think, but for anybody who was familiar with it or paid attention to it, when the whole Casey Anthony thing went down where she killed her kid, she had Googled all of that stuff and they still let her off. So, maybe the justice system isn't all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, that was fucking wild, man. What a fucking piece of shit that chick was, huh?
Speaking of the justice system being a complete and total joke, immediately cease. The Trump administration gets a stern warning from a judge. This judge has ordered District Court Judge Amir Ali warned the administration that it must comply with his order to unfreeze foreign aid funding. I'm sorry, dude. You're a judge. You don't have any authority to say this at all. Like, they can continue to just ignore your dipshit ass. Like, you have no power here. Go away. Shut up.
Yeah. Well, isn't Donald Trump just firing all these goddamn judges now?
He needs to. I have been cheering for literally since Inauguration Day, like at least in the top 5 on priorities for the administration. Completely gutting the judiciary should be somewhere up there. Like, get rid of all of these activist piece of shit, partisan judges that can't rule on it. Like, when the judges that they picked for all of the Trump trials over the last 4 years, when every single one of them like turned it into a giant circus and made it a political stump speech for themselves and everything else that happened, like, if you are not an objective, just here to exercise the rule of law to the letter of the law, then like it's like Ruth Bader Ginsburg made it popular for the Supreme Court judges to be activists from the bench. That's not your fucking job. As a judge or a justice, your entire job is to uphold the law, enforce the law, and determine if it's constitutional, and then abide by that. Not to give your own opinion and be an activist, to look at the letter and intent of the law and rule as such. Period. And if you can't do that, then you don't deserve to have a job.
Yeah.
That would be like if I suddenly grew a conscience and thought that, providing alcohol to people was just killing them. And so I'm just going to stop doing my job. Like, okay, then I should be fired. And that's how these judges are. That's what should happen, is if they're not going to do their job, then they should not have a job.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I don't know. Like, everyone's calling him a dictator and shit. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Like, we have to dismantle this thing somehow. I'm fine with fucking just taking the Doge chainsaw to it all. Fire the fucking judges. I don't give a fuck. As long as it's making government smaller, I couldn't care less how they do it. Couldn't care less. Yeah, that's really gonna send them in. Once the executive goes after the judiciary, oh boy, watch them freak out about that. But yeah, watching them freak out is half the fun.
At least half, if not more.
Yeah. Oh man! All right, what else we got? We're kind of coming up on time here, right?
Let's see. I had a couple fun or funny ones. Speaking of other stuff that Trump has done to, like, stuff that was just jabs to get a reaction, and then the people that he's taking the jabs at reacting in completely the wrong way. This one I thought was fucking hilarious. So after the changing of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, now the Mexican president is threatening to sue Google for the name change. It's like, yeah, that was what you should have taken away from this. We're gonna sue Google.
Google no tiene derecho a renombrar la plataforma continental de México.
She says Google has no right to rename Mexico's continental shelf.
No tiene ningún derecho.
No right.
La plataforma continental de Cuba,
with the continental
está dividido en los tres
because the Gulf of Mexico is divided between these three countries.
Presidente Trump cambia.
Trump's executive order changes the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
De Golfo de Mexico.
It's just so funny that this is what they're working on now. It's like, I think Mexico has enough problems. They don't need to be worried about what's, about names on Google.
She said, that's what Google says, but Google is wrong.
Yeah. How can Google be wrong?
Right, Google's always right. That's where everybody goes.
De América solo en su plataforma continental. Estamos hablando de 22 millas náuticas desde la costa, no a todo el Golfo. El gobierno de México procederá a ejercer las acciones.
The government of Mexico will take the appropriate legal actions as deemed necessary.
Que conforme a derecho estime pertinente. Vamos a esperar la respuesta.
We will wait for Google's response, and if not, we will proceed to court. They're going to take Google to court to get the Gulf of Mexico change, or to get it changed back to the Gulf of Mexico. Like, this is what they're worried about.
Yeah, it boggles the mind, dude. It just absolutely boggles the mind how ridiculous, and how Donald Trump can just keep trolling people like this and get them to do stupid shit. Like, they're gonna waste taxpayer money on a fucking lawsuit for a name. Just don't call it that. Who cares? It's like when they renamed the Sears Tower, Willis Tower. Nobody ever calls it the Willis Tower. It doesn't matter what it says on paper.
That's like one of Trump's executive orders when he came into office was to rename Mount McKinley back to Mount McKinley. Like it used to be Mount McKinley, and then they changed the name to something else. And one of his executive orders was to change it back to being Mount McKinley. And like a bunch of activist groups just threw a fit about it. It's like,
Yeah.
call it whatever the fuck you want. Nobody cares. Like it doesn't matter. These are the things that they get all worked up about. It's incredible.
It is. Yeah. And it's so much fun. Trump's just playing them like a fiddle. Playing them like a goddamn fiddle. And,
but have you seen all the there have been a bunch of like protests and rallies and stuff to oppose Trump because he's such a threat to democracy, and he's we have a constitutional crisis and all of this stuff. Could you imagine if like our founding fathers like tried to overthrow the government or some shit?
One day our children's children will read American history. And can you imagine our reading that James Madison or Thomas Jefferson tried to overthrow the government so he could stay in power? That's what we're looking at. We're looking at American history.
Yeah, imagine that, Justin. He should probably read some American history.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that's how the country was founded.
So I think sure. If I recall, that's literally what they did. It was a bunch of rich white dudes that decided to overthrow the government so that they could be in power. I mean, not so that they could be in power, but also it just kind of worked out that they ended up being the ones who were in power.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh god, it's just delicious, dude. Al Sharpton's just a piece of shit retard, but it's just like, imagine going on national TV and saying something that stupid.
I think that's what he's made his career off of. So
yeah, it's amazing how much money you can make just being an idiot. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Happy fucking Friday. All right. I know you got to get out of here pretty soon, right? We can,
yeah. Got done.
Are we forgetting anything? Are we forgetting anything?
The only other thing that we had was Delta offers $30,000 to each passenger.
That was just like a kind of a throwaway thing.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a thing that I saw, and I can't find it now. The organization that was in charge of staffing for this flight in particular and a number of other flights, like they really put a big emphasis on having like female only crews and stuff. And
yeah, it was like Endeavor, I think, right? Endeavor Air or something like that.
It's like,
I saw that. Not to say that this crew was. Did you see the? So I saw the video. The reports, like the plane flipped over after it crashed. So that's not like the wind didn't just blow the thing over. It looked like the landing gear failed or something. Like it looked like a good landing, and then it just like, I don't know, just like blew up as soon as it hit the ground.
Was this a Boeing?
That's what I was like. It's not a Boeing though. Yeah, I was like, that was my first thing. I was like, okay, landing gear looked like the landing gear failed because the landing gear was down and it just didn't. Like when it hit the ground, it just didn't do what landing gear is supposed to do. So I was like, oh, that looks like a Boeing, but it was not.
It's a Mitsubishi CRJ 900LR.
Can't trust those Mitsubishis, huh? Yeah, I don't know. Pretty wild, but yeah, nobody died. So like, dude, if you're on that plane and nothing happened to you, you just get a check for 30 grand. It's not bad.
A Delta spokesperson said the payment offer is a good faith gesture with no strings attached. Yeah. They're just going to give everybody who was on the plane 30 grand. It's like, thanks for flying Delta. Sorry, your plane flipped over.
Yeah, but I'm sure they could get a lot more than 30 grand in a court somehow if they can. Delta's just trying to avoid going through the process of proving that they didn't really do anything wrong. There was no negligence or something. I don't know. If it were me, I'd just take the 30 and run, especially if nothing bad happened to you. If you were like serious, like I know there was injuries. I don't know how serious they were, but I'll take, like I said, just take the money and run. Dude, what's going on with all these fucking plane crashes? I know it's Donald Trump's fault, but There was like another one too, right? Over the last week.
There have been a bunch just like in the last year. A lot of them. I mean, we had a bunch of those Boeing incidences around the same time that the Boeing union was going on strike because they weren't getting paid enough to shoddily make airplanes. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with all, and it is interesting that over the last 2 to 3 years, there's been a big push for these DEI programs in all of the things airplane related. So it's hard not to be like, obviously correlation is not causation, but at the same time, when these things are all aligning at the same time, it's like, it's hard to like not connect some dots.
Yeah. And they're like, I think we were talking about maybe on the last episode when we discussed this one, like there will be a lag for all this DEI to work its way through the system. So I don't know, dude, flying it's always been miserable for me, but the prices keep going up and the planes keep fucking having more problems. I don't know. Be careful out there. I don't have a flight for a while. They got about 4 months to figure this out before I have to hop on one of these things. So anyway, we're gonna do a happy hour tonight.
Yeah.
I
sent you I sent you the link for it because it'll be a different link for tonight than the last one.
Okay. Yeah, I think I saw that right before we kicked off. So are we doing games or what's the
either games or trivia? We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working on that. We're going to do some fun dumb shit though, one way or the other.
Fun dumb shit. It's our fucking specialty here at Peddling Fiction. So yeah, I mean, I'll probably be able to do about 2 hours and then I'll have to bounce. But yeah, so try not to be late for that one, especially since we got some dumb shit planned. You don't want to miss the dumb shit. And I don't know, you got anything else going on this weekend?
Not that I can think of.
All right. Well, stay warm over there. Thank you so very much for listening. Share the show with somebody you think might want to listen to it. And join us for the happy hour. I'll link to how to do that in the description. And until, for those of you that will be joining at 6:30, I'll see you then. For the rest of you guys, we'll see you on Tuesday, the brand new episode. Until then, you know what to do. Just keep on peddling that so-called fiction. Peace.